So, overview of the RFP. The goal of this RFP is to extend our non-congregate shelter that we've been running for essentially the last 2 years using ESG COVID funds, and to continue that as social distancing is still considered kind of a best practice for several folks, and we don't want to have more people experiencing unsheltered homelessness due to the way our shelters are set up as congregate shelters. So this is to extend that, and we are also looking to provide funding for rapid rehousing, additional rapid rehousing funds, as well as landlord engagement to help people experiencing homelessness to transition to permanent housing. So when we look at this, here's how this breaks out as total dollars available. And this is on the city side of the ledger. So the supportive services for emergency shelter is $700,000 for the supportive services to non-congregate emergency shelter. So if you're applying for these are the things to provide the case management, the security, the food, the laundry, transportation, the types of things that are eligible under the supportive services piece. If you're applying for non-congregate supportive services money, you will need to also be applying to the county to pay for hotel or other non-congregate rooms. It doesn't necessarily have to be a hotel, but it does need to, you do need to have an application with the county to cover those pieces. There is $200,000 available for non-congregate shelter and the related supportive services to persons escaping intimate partner violence. I see hand Sally. You're muted.
You can, if you want to go through the rest of the slide and then I can ask my question either way. I had a question about the top item.
Go ahead.
So the way that so currently, as I understand it, supportive services are being provided to non-congregate shelter. That those are, sorry, I haven't finished my coffee yet. Okay, let me start all over. So it sounds like you're saying that if you want to provide supportive services for non-congregate shelter, you also have to fund and provide the non-congregate shelter rooms.
Correct. Or have a partnership or something along those lines that you would be able to show that there is there are rooms that are, you've got money to pay for that, and it's tied to the county because the county has been paying for our non-congregate shelter for the last 2 years, and the city's been paying for the supportive services. So the two have to go together.
They have to go together, but the way that it is working now is there's one contract that actually pays for the rooms, and then there's services contract that pays, provides for the services. So those of us on the services contract don't also have a county contract. So that sounds like a new thing that we need to understand.
Yes. I believe if you had a partnership of people going together, sort of like what's happening now, and are able to memorialize that, we could probably work with that. And Drew, do you have anything you want to add on that?
Really, I was just going to make your last point, right? Which it wouldn't necessarily need to be the exact same organization, but it could be a partner organization or kind of a team approach to the two RFPs.
So it sounds like that is a okay. Are you going to be going over the county RFP today as well?
I don't think that's really the plan, but I'm happy today or any other time to answer questions regarding it. And there's also kind of a Q&A process associated with the county's RFP.
So this was the best way to give the maximum ability that It could continue operating the way things have been with one vendor and a bunch of partners doing the supportive services and coming up with MOAs that become part of the application to explain how this all works. And the other way for it to work is if partnerships didn't make sense for some reason, then one organization could say, hey, we're applying to the county for X number of non-congregate rooms and the city for X number of dollars for supportive services. So it allows for both. Does that answer your question?
No, but maybe I'll come back to it at the end once I see the rest of the presentation.
Okay. On the city side, there are two exceptions to not applying to the county for funds, and that is related to intimate partner violence and non-congregate white flag. Those are two programs that the city has funded 100% of and are looking to continue that for the next iteration. In the RFP, it is listed that there is $215,000 available for non-congregate IPV shelter. That 215 in the RFP is incorrect. It should be $200,000. We will be issuing a correction on that. So if you're applying for providing supportive services to people escaping IPV, $200,000 is the correct dollar amount, not 215. The non-congregate white flag shelter is a max of 200,000. Landlord engagement is the only piece of this RFP that is a one-year contract and then has a possibility to be renewed for an additional 2 years, 1 year at a time. And that renewal for the second and third year of landlord engagement depends on funds being available, performance, and a need to continue the project past that first year. And then there is an additional $350,000 for rapid rehousing for this 12-month period starting July 1, 2022. That rapid rehousing dollars is not going to be renewable in the future. The only renewable contracts would come on the landlord engagement piece. Yes, Ricky.
In the RFP, it says that the amount for rapid rehousing, that 350, is available July 2022 through December 2023. Is that incorrect?
I believe that is correct. That is the only one that has an 18-month.
Okay.
Just because of the ramp up and ramp down period, 12 months makes it difficult to get those spent.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions on this slide?
And there's a question in the chat about non-congregate shelter. I gave an example, but Sally Wilson says non-congregate shelter. How about rooms in house?
Sally, do you mean like single room occupancy leases in a house? Like that?
You know, if single room occupancy in a house. Yeah, if it's a shared common area but a private bedroom, is that non-congregate shelter? Or does it have to be a private? Do you have to have your own bathroom?
If you're going non-congregate, you wouldn't have, I mean, the purpose of non-congregate is you wouldn't have shared space. You would be sort of more of a non-congregate, not SRO, but single room. Food either could be delivered or prepped in that space. You wouldn't necessarily be using shared congregate space, but we can look at it and respond specifically to that question.
Okay.
So are you suggesting that using rooming houses, or if you rented a bedroom in somebody's house, that could be considered emergency shelter?
I'm just curious.
It would. The other
I'm
thing
just curious because it sort of has been specific to hotel motel rooms, and I'm just wondering if there's if if, what are there other sources of non-congregate shelter that we should know about? I'm not proposing anything exactly. I'm
All
curious
right. What I would say
about
is
the range of non-congregate shelter options.
essentially that would be a county question because the county's
Right.
funding that side. So Drew, that's something for you to think about. And you can decide how you want to handle that or how the county might handle that. All right, continue here. There is up to 10% of the award can be used for administrative costs. So if you applied for $250,000, 25,000 of that 250 can be considered admin. You will have to provide documentation for the admin. And there is a policy that the city has that will help you figure out what documentation is required for that admin. Generally speaking, timesheets, receipts, logic, if you're proportionately allocating overall agency expenses to this. So you do have to document your admin. It's just not we did work, here's some money. And that's just a rule of city and state. Minimum threshold requirements. You must be a nonprofit in operation for at least 1 year, a government entity or a partnership of nonprofits and or government entities. You must have audited financials for the last 2 years prior to the fiscal year that most recently ended. So obviously, if your fiscal year ended December 31st, 2021, you might not have your audit completed yet. So you'd go back to the most recent completed audits you have. You do need to show that you have the financial capacity to manage a reimbursement-based contract. You're going to need to show you have adequate cash on hand to cover expenses while you go through a reimbursement process. You will need to have a signed and notarized cover letter, conflict of interest policy for organizational leadership and board of directors. The applicant must be in good standing with the city of Durham. So that's if you've got current contracts, you're going to want to make sure that you're in good standing with those. And submit the contractor diversity questionnaire and equal business opportunity participation documentation. That is from the Equity and Inclusion Department. That's a requirement of the city. If you do not submit those, it is a threshold issue and may not get scored. Additional requirements, policies and procedures, the emergency shelter and rapid rehousing projects. So the supportive services piece will follow the ESG guidelines, the standard ESG guidelines, not all the waivers and all of the things that we've been able to do in the past, because most of the ESG COVID waivers ended March 31st. So everything's reverting back to standard ESG guidelines. Landlord engagement projects. The terms of those contracts will follow the terms in the RFP as well as the response in the RFP. Those will get codified into a contract with the city for the contract period. The contracts will have a period of performance of July 1, 2022 through June 30th, 2023, except for that rapid rehousing piece that goes out to December. Landlord engagement is expected to have an additional 2 years, and all other contracts will be non-renewable. There is a piece where contracts for the non-congregate shelter and the supportive services will allow for suspension of the non-congregate shelters should the city and county determine that it is appropriate to return to a congregate shelter. So if city and county and determine that it's safe to go back to non-congregate shelter and increase capacity, there would be a 90-day window to phase down non-congregate shelters and return to congregate shelter. Questions on that? Okay. This is Equal business opportunity, the city ordinance providing contracting opportunities for economically disadvantaged businesses. This is the applicants must submit your EBOP participation and documentation contract diversity questionnaire that we talked about a minute ago. Yes, Ricky.
Is there someone from the city that can go over this form and what the expectation is? I understand the contractor diversity questionnaire, but like the EBOP, I have no idea what the city is looking for, like a successful response to that other than a signature.
Yes, probably reach out to the Equity and Inclusion Department. They're the ones who would best
And,
be able
and
to help
who,
them.
who can I contact there?
Let me jump in.
Terry.
So usually we try to have someone that's a part of the workshop that participates in this if you have questions. What I will do, I will forward the contact name and number to Colin, and you can disperse it to the people who are part of this meeting. So you all will know exactly who to contact that if you have any questions concerning the EBOP forms.
Thank you, Terry. Much
You're
appreciated.
You guys could, if you want to drop emails in the chat, we can grab those and send out. We'll also send it out through when we send
Yeah.
them.
The email should be a part of the registration for the Zoom meeting. Is that correct?
Should be.
Let's see,
I have to look.
Ruby, pardon me.
Yes,
I set it
emails
up.
The emails
Okay.
are part of the registration.
Okay, so Colin, you should have that, so you don't have to go
Okay.
back and look at this chat.
Perfect. Thank you. Evaluation criteria. Evaluation criteria can be found under the evaluation tab in Zoom grants. There are points associated with each question. So you'll see how each question will be scored and sort of what it would take to get maximum points and what it would take to get 0 points. For the most part, I think it's pretty difficult unless you just completely leave a question completely blank or answer something that had nothing to do with the question to get 0 points. And points can be awarded between the 0 and maximum point scale. So it's not a all or nothing. It is a graduated scoring system. Timeline and proposal process. So we released, the city released the city RFP on Monday, the 25th. The county released theirs on, I believe, the 24th. Drew, is that correct? And yesterday we forwarded the county RFP to the full Durham COC. So hopefully if you're on the COC mailing list, you would have gotten that as well. If you're looking for the county RFP, you can go to the county bid website and find it there. Application workshop is this morning. You're in it. Question and answer period is from yesterday through tomorrow. Close of business tomorrow. We will respond to questions on Monday, May 2nd. Applications are due May 9th by 11:59 p.m. in Zoom grants. We'll get those applications scored by the 19th, and the contracts will begin July 1st. Questions on the timeline?
Yes, I do, Colin. The
Sure.
question and answer period for that's up till tomorrow, close of business. How do you go about doing that? Did I miss that?
It should be in the Zoom grants. There's a way to submit questions.
Okay, okay. All right.
You can do that.
And the county's grant, you said it's located in the county's RFP section. Is that what you said?
It's in the county. Drew Cummings, where's the county's? Where I don't know how to give directions to finding a county RFP.
Yeah, there's a purchasing webpage that's part of the finance department's website on the county, but I can also send one out directly if you did not receive one.
Drew, are you
That'd be helpful.
you gonna send us one individually?
Well, it's been sent out to the COC list. It was sent to a number of agencies directly. It's also on the purchasing website, which is on the county's sort of finance department website. So you can click through there and find it there. But if you, Mr. Page, would like a copy, I can make sure you get one directly as well.
Drew, is there a link that you could stick in the chat?
I'm on the meeting on my phone, but I will try to figure out how to do that. Yeah.
Okay. All right, maybe, go ahead, Sally.
I can figure that out.
Oh, no, I was just saying, I'm not sure that, has anybody received the county RFP?
Maybe I screwed up, but I thought I had sent it out through the Durham Opening Doors last night.
Yeah, so I didn't receive anything. Either from, yeah, it seemed like it, yeah, so I don't, yeah.
We'll make
It
sure it
doesn't-
gets out.
All right, I'll work with Ruby to get that. I see Ricky, you had your hand up, sorry. Ricky? Hold on, you're muted, Ricky.
I sure was, man. Asked a good question too.
Right.
So I was saying, Lloyd knows about this. I'm having an issue with that ask a question feature in Zoom grants. Like it won't let me ask a question. And so
Okay.
am I able to like email you or Lloyd with a question?
Yeah, let's do Terry.
Let me
where
jump
would-
in, you
Yeah,
guys.
Terry,
Yes,
where
let
would you
me
like
jump
these
in.
emailed?
Okay, so if I'm understanding correctly, in Zoom grants, you all do not have the option to submit a question. Is that what I'm understanding to be true?
I know for a different application that the Community Development Department has out right now, that feature is in Zoom grants, but it's not working for me. Whenever I click on it, it's like, what question? So I had to reach out to Lloyd yesterday to ask, like, can I just ask you a question? Because it won't,
Okay.
the feature won't work for me, but it might work for other people.
So let's check that, because there's a reason why all questions are going through there. One thing we don't like to do is for a lot of individual questions to be going to individuals, because we don't want to lose sight of all the questions that have come in. So what I will do, has anyone else tried to ask a question through the Zoom grants application?
For this RFP.
For this RFP. So that's a no. So let me just do another check. Colin, when is the last day they can submit questions?
Tomorrow.
Wow, okay.
Just because it's a
so-
10-day turnaround.
Yeah, we may have to extend it another day, Colin, because if that feature
That's
is not
fine.
working, that's a problem. So this is what I would suggest. Let's go offline. I'll talk to Colin and his team. And if there's another link that we'll send out, then that's where it would go. And we will follow back up with everybody to let everyone know where it should be sent. So let's just do that. If you all would give me an opportunity to go offline after this workshop and follow up with Colin's team. And then we will make sure we get that information back out to you all as quickly as possible to let you know where you would supply those questions. So no, we do not want any individual questions to go to individuals, because it's an audit reason why we have to do it the way we're doing it. So, but we'll make sure we get that information back out to you all.
Ricky, if you wanted to, I don't know if you have or anybody on this call, if you have a profile set up in Zoom grants and want to do a test question, see if you can do it in Zoom grants, please feel free to do so. And just mark it as test, just see if you can get in there.
Can I just ask another question, Colin? So
Yes,
Ricky, do you already have a profile set up in Zoom grants?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
You do. And so you said that you can't, the question is not coming up for you all, for you be able to go there. Okay. So I'll talk offline with the team, and we'll do a test as well to see if there is a problem with the section or if it's not. And we'll make sure we get everything back out to everyone.
Good morning. This is Lloyd. Not to belabor this point, although it's an important one. Ricky, have you tried sending a question in through another browser, accessing Zoom grants through another browser?
No, I have not tried that one yet.
You might try accessing the website through another browser and see what happens. Just a thought.
And thank you, Lloyd. That might work as well, because even with some of our links, we have to shift over to another browser instead of Chrome. So, but anyway, regardless, we'll get something back out to everyone.
Thank you, Ricky. Other questions or thoughts? And so yeah, the short turnaround on questions is due to, we have an abbreviated RFP cycle because we need contracts to start July 1. So ordinarily the question and answer period would be longer than three or 4 days. So because we only have like a 10-day, 2-week turnaround on this, we needed to get questions out and be able to answer them so that people could take the information from those questions to incorporate it in their response to the RFP.
So Colin,
Yes,
so
sir.
what typically is, this is Albert Avery, Business Services in CDD. Typically, what is the turnaround time from, I guess, RFP release to, the close on the question period? I'm just trying to understand that from the difference between this and what is typically done, and how that may or may not affect what you're trying to get done on the back end. But what's typically the time?
Generally, it's from the time it opens till a few days after the How to Apply workshop, and on a 30-day RFP process, your How to Apply workshop is about a week after you release the RFP. So you have at least a good 7 to 14 days worth of Q&A time period, so that people have a good 1 to 2 weeks after the responses are brought back in, that they can work through incorporating answers into their RFP.
And Terry, you said that all questions and answers would be up until the point of cutoff, published in a form that everybody, I guess, either accessing Zoom grants or wherever, will have access to the questions and the responses.
Yes. You're muted, Terry.
That is correct. Even the questions that was captured during this workshop has to be included as well for those who are not able to participate on this workshop.
All right. Okay, that's all I was just trying to get an idea of. I didn't know if on the back end, was there an opportunity where, the applicants could get more time, based off of moving out. What is it because you're trying to get something to council by a certain date to get the contract established?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's because we need these to start by July 1, and council's last meeting is, like, we have to get these into the on-base agenda cycle by the end of May. So we need time to score this and get them into cycle so that we can have contracts starting July 1st.
Okay.
To
All right.
ensure continuation of services.
Okay. And we don't think there's anything on the back end that we could do to get back some of that time to review questions. I ain't trying to give you a hard time, Colin. I'm just thinking, like, if I was an applicant, and I know some people say it's, well, if you're ready applicant, then you can apply and understand the questions and get it into us. And, and if it's not your typical time that you give for questions and answers, does everybody still feel comfortable, or they're just going to try to get it done? And if that's the case, then that's the case. But that's looks like a significant change in the amount of time people have to answer questions.
Understood. We do the best we can with the timeline we have to ensure operations continue. So we'll do what we
Yeah,
can.
I do want to chime in. I think this workshop, I mean, the schedule that was released due to a contract has to be in place by July 1. So there, if I'm correct, there'll be no lapse in services. And we have to meet it through the, got to get it to city council by a certain timeline. This was approved by Reginald and Karen for this period. And it seems to be from the time of the 25th to the 28th, that gives the staff really 2 days to get those questions answered and get it back to the admin team to be posted on Monday. Because I believe Monday is the 2nd. So
Correct.
it's trying to get it posted. Yeah.
I understand all that about the timing of needing to get the contract in place.
Yeah.
And not trying to get off track. All I'm just saying though is that for future reference and future contracts, we just need to be better about how we plan it, because that seems to be something that comes from our end in terms of setting this calendar. And if the time that you're typically used to is not granted, then some people may feel some way about that.
Right. So let's take that offline and discuss that internally, and then we can see how we can make it work better in the future.
Proposal process. The RFP describes information to be included in the proposal and application. Application should be submitted via Zoom grants. That's the only way to submit these, is through Zoom grants. There is no paper application. It's all through Zoom grants. Information on how these need to be. The Zoom grant link is here. The link to the RFP is located on the city website. And the proposals must be complete. Make sure you answer all of the questions that are relevant to what you are applying for. There are some questions, if you're not applying for landlord engagement, you don't need to answer landlord engagement questions. If you're applying for rapid rehousing, make sure you apply for rapid rehousing. If you're applying for supportive services, make sure you answer the questions related to that. Drew Woten had a question about county RFP. We'll go through. Drew Cummings can answer that one.
Just trying to look at the question. No, so we have a separate submission process that will be clear when you look at when you click on the application link that's been put in the chat.
Applications are due to the city May 9th, 2022 at 11:59 p.m. If you try and submit it at midnight, May 10th, Zoom grants will not allow you to do it. So you won't be able to have an application that is submitted to be even looked at, because Zoom grants won't let you do it. So make sure it is in before 11:59 p.m. and don't wait till literally the last second, because technology and internet connections blip. So please make sure you get them in no later than that time.
And the counties is due about a week later, I think on the 16th, in part just that's where our normal purchasing timelines work, but also I didn't want to put them actually right on top of one another.
Questions. Oh, okay. So questions should be going through the Zoom grant portal. As Terry said, we'll get back to you on whether or not we'll use these emails as well. So we'll go from there. All right. And now we can just sort of go over any questions you all have or want to talk through. Ricky.
Hi, thank you. Colin, do you mind going over the required documents for the RFP?
I don't have the RFP open in
Oh.
front of me.
Okay.
And I don't have that list of documents in front of me, but is there one you specifically wanted to talk about?
Yeah, and I just wanted to ensure it wasn't a duplication. There's one required document that says organization's year-to-date actual versus budget statement for the current fiscal year. And then the line beneath it seems to be asking for the same thing. And so I just wanted to make sure you only want one.
There should be one of them.
Okay. And that there wasn't maybe something else you wanted in addition, but like accidentally just duplicated that.
I'm going to defer
request.
to Elbert whether or not we need a current year-to-date versus actuals and a previous year-to-date actuals. But if you're turning in your previous year audit, wouldn't that be your year-to-date budget actuals? I'm going to have to defer to Elbert,
Okay.
who's our fiscal, or Terry on this one.
Okay.
Yeah, no, my comment would be is that the audit reports would be based off of, you know, if you had your CPA actually do those, and those are usually done for, you know, specific fiscal years or financial years for your organization. Then I guess when you're asking questions about your budgets, you know, and I'm not exactly sure exactly what you're referencing in the RFP, but if the request for budgets for the length of the proposal or whatever, you know, we would expect that to be submitted as part of the budget response in the RFP. And your current year that you're in would suffice, and then maybe your prior year budget from the last year and where you're at today.
Okay.
And then, but also, how would you, you know, and some of you have already done our RFPs before, you know that just about every contract, and it varies at different levels, has the budget associated with, you know, the RFP as part of the, you know, response from the applicants and stuff. So when you talk about budget, you know, it was in a couple of different places. That's how I kind of view it. You know,
Right.
Yeah.
Thanks, Elbert. Let me be clear, because I just want to make sure I'm clear in your question, because are we speaking of the section where we talk about your audits and your balance and income sheets? Is that what we're talking about? Or are you talking about the budget for this particular project that the RFP is proposing, is requesting?
The required document section of
Mhm.
the RFP, or the requested documents, there
Mhm.
appears to be a duplicate request. And so I am trying to ascertain whether or not it is in fact a duplicate, or if something else was supposed to be in that spot where the duplicate is.
Got you. So I'm really going to need Colin to open up that section and see if it's a duplication or if it's something that got missed that should have been there.
All right, I will
And we
get
can
that
get back.
in response.
That could something that, yeah, we'll
It'll be on our
we'll
response,
follow up
please.
with that. Yeah.
I just looked at the website. Yeah, there's a needless repetition of income and expenditures statement for the current fiscal year, but there's also the other relevant document related to finances is also a current balance sheet. So
Okay, that's right. Those are two different types of
separate
documents.
right? But
All
there
right,
is a needless duplication.
But when we send out the rest of the things, we'll make sure we answer that question. We'll huddle internally, make sure we're clarifying it correctly.
Does that help, Ricky?
Yes, thank you.
Sally?
Let's return to you have to, for the non-congregate shelter, you have to apply to both city and county.
Correct.
So if you are, so going back to, you mentioned that apply would be a nonprofit, a government, or a partnership of nonprofits and government entities. So if you're applying with a partnership, do both applications to the city and the county have to be part of a partnership? Or could you apply to one as your own entity and then as a partner with another entity if the other entity is the lead submitting to the county?
You would need, so yes and yes. You would need to codify to the city that you are applying to the county for funds through the partnership with the other agency, which would include sort of an MOA. So if agency ABC is partnering with agency XYZ, ABC is coming to the city for supportive funds and XYZ is going to the county for the county rental funds, you would have an MOA between ABC and XYZ explaining how the partnership works, who's doing what. That document would be part of your response to the city RFP and part of the response to the county RFP to show how services are getting provided to the rooms that are being done and how the rooms are being paid for, where the supportive services are being paid for.
So that MOA would need to have been, needs to be part of the grant application itself.
Yes, and you would need something documenting how this partnership's working and who's doing what. Drew, do you want to chime in on this?
I think your RFP and your answer is probably a little clearer on that point than the county's RFP. But certainly kind of as a matter of principle, we need to know also, which application to the city, a county application is associated with.
And so it could be theoretically that one entity in the partnership is receiving the county funds and one entity in the partnership is receiving the city funds. But if there's an existing MOA, that's fine.
Or a new MOA, presumably. But at least from my vantage point, the answer to that question is yes.
Okay. Yeah, I meant, that it was already in place at the time of the submission of the to the RFP.
Yes, you would explain the partnership and who's doing what in it and to show that essentially you are part of a team that's applying for the two funds. One agency is administering the county portion, one agency is administering the other portion, and this is how it's going to work. Lloyd, did you have something you wanted to clarify?
Yeah, thanks, Colin. I wanted to touch base about the cover letter. I reviewed the template that's on the website. Does the city, and this might be for Terry or Albert, does the city have expectations as to who at the agency or organization signs that cover letter? It's not clear on the template that we're providing whether it can be anyone within the organization.
No. Are you talking about the submittal? Which cover letter are you talking about, Lloyd?
The notarized cover letter that kind of submits is one of the required documents.
Right. So as always, it's always Janet's signature is always authorized by who has the authorizing signature authority in that organization. So we don't know if it's the board chair. We don't know if the board chair has given the executive director to sign all documents, but that's whoever have the authority to sign documents. If the financial person does not have authority to sign documents on behalf of grants or contracts or anything like that for the organization, they should not be signing it.
Okay, thank you.
Because it would not be binded as a legal document.
Other questions? All right, if you don't have any questions for us, Drew, is there anything you want to share or feel would be important to share on the county side?
I don't think so, but there is, there's an email address to which people can send questions about the county RFP if they have them. So we'll get those answered as expeditiously as possible as well.
All right, there's no other questions. Going once, going twice.
Hey,
We can
hey,
probably
Colin,
go- Yes, sir.
do you have time and you and Terry have time to talk right after this call?
Yes, sir. We can meet on Teams.
All right, sounds good. I'll shoot you a call out to you.
Okay.
All right.
If there's nothing else, we can go ahead and adjourn for today. We will get questions and answers to all of this out by the 2nd. If we determine we need to extend it an extra day, that might become on the 3rd instead of the 2nd, because if we're getting things Friday night, we might not have answers by Tuesday. So we will keep you posted on that as well. All right. Thank you all for your time and appreciate you. Look forward to seeing some great applications, and feel free to reach out through the question and answer until the period ends, and we'll let you know how it all shakes out after scoring happens. Thanks all. Have a great day.
Thank you, Collins.